Hey, everybody. It's Tuesday?
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. Hopefully, we're not going to, lose the streak. It's gone into the red a couple times while the little preparation thing was on, but it just went for a second, so hopefully it's not.
Yeah, we're talking about a connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw Rollerball last night, so this one's about Rollerball.
I kind of feel, I can't remember who it was, but I remember one or two people bringing that up. It's probably when we were doing some kind of 70s movies, when we were doing that a couple weeks back. And so I was scrolling through, I was like, oh, I'm kind of in a 70s movie kind of mood. So I was scrolling through the Amazon Prime stuff that's the free ones. And I said, so it was either between Rollerball or The Parallax View, which I still want to watch. I've seen that one before, and I thought that I had seen Rollerball, but watching it, I don't think I ever saw it.
I've never seen Rollerball.
I could have sworn I saw it.
It was a lot deeper, more serious movie than I thought it was.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe I'm confusing it with Death Race 2000 or something.
I thought it was going to be like Death Race 2000.
That's what I was saying. It's not really like that at all.
More like Logan's Run.
Yeah.
And Soylent Green,
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Kind of dystopian.
Kind of a futuristic dystopian movie where the Earth's nations, kind of like Zardoz again, the Earth's nation states were just kind of taken over by fucking eugenic style fucking dystopian corporations. They run everything. And it's just kind of what do you call it? An autocracy or a fucking technocracy. It's like that. And this guy's a pro athlete, and he played by James Caan, who's looking good in this movie. He's fucking young in this.
I had forgotten that he was actually in The Godfather a couple years before this.
Yeah.
So, because I was watching it, I was like, oh, I don't remember if I've seen him in anything where he was this young. But then I was like, oh, yeah, The Godfather.
Yeah. And he's like, look at his hair. And it says, yeah, because he had this fucking curly-ass fucking blonde
He's
hair.
always had that hair. I said, look at this little Brillo head.
And I was like, is he a little bit biracial or something? Or is that a perm? What is that? So I kind of looked out. Turns out he's from New York, German, Jewish immigrant parents. And it fucking dawned on me. I'm looking at him and I was like, man, if he had the right hair, black straight hair, that motherfucker would have made a good fucking Superman.
He's got a good chin.
Yeah, he'd have made a good Superman. That kind of fits.
He's got Superman chin.
Yeah.
I never realized it, I guess.
Yeah, he'd have made a good Superman.
Because I'm used to seeing him older, I guess, from 1990 on, because he was in Misery and stuff.
Yeah. But physically, he would have made a good Kal-El. Kal-El, Superman. Fucking Chris Reeves fucking knocked it out of the park just because Superman's got to have a purity and an innocence to him. And Caan is kind of a fucking tough guy. James Caan probably could have pulled it off, but he'd have to be kind of... Superman you suspect of being a virgin. Yeah, pretty much.
James Caan is absolutely not a virgin.
Yeah, and Caan's not, but he might be able to pretend that. Superman, well, I didn't want to hurt you, Lois. But he made a pretty good Superman.
Yeah, you can imagine all kind of... Oh, and I'm sure people have imagined. I'm sure there's all kind of slash fiction about fucking Superman.
Superman, Lois.
And his magic dick.
Yeah.
But, so I had thought I had seen Rollerball, but I guess we were watching it and I hadn't seen it. So this came out in 1975. Now, this was actually directed by Norman Jewison, and I said, oh man, I know that name. So I look him up. He won 3 Oscars, actually, for In the Heat of the Night, Fiddler on the Roof, good flick, and Moonstruck,
all right.
Also a good flick. And he also directed Agnes of God, which I love that movie, sorry. Jesus Christ Superstar, The Hurricane, for 1999. So he's directed a fuck ton of stuff.
All right.
So he directed this.
So it's a Jewish production. Jewison, he's doing fucking Fiddler on the Roof, all the Jewish classics.
He's Canadian. Norman Jewison is a Canadian guy.
Yeah.
And so he... So this is actually... Oh, that was my phone.
Phone? Okay.
It was either...
I thought it was a bomb getting ready to go off.
No, it's notification.
Oh,
it's a notification or the phone's ringing. I'm sure it's nobody.
BB Netanyahu coming to get me.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The only phone calls I ever get say spam risk on them, which is nice. Yeah. I like that they do that now. It either says spam risk or telemarketer, and I'm like, oh, thanks. Yeah. I wasn't going to answer it anyway, but So this was actually based on a short story called Rollerball Murder, which is a dumb name, but okay.
Yeah.
by William Harrison, and that turned up in Esquire magazine back in 1973. And the same guy that wrote the short story, which is pretty close to how the movie turned out, is also the guy that wrote the screenplay. So why is my phone making that noise?
I don't know, man. Telemarketer's trying to get you.
Make it stop.
That's never happened the whole time in the show.
I know. Fuck, well, it's man. Yeah. Why is it making that noise? That doesn't even sound like it's ringing. It sounds like
it's like a warning.
It sounds like.
You know what? You think that might
it might be. Maybe it's an Amber Alert. Maybe that's what it is. Is it an Amber Alert? Your hat's on top of my fucking phone. Look at this. So unprofessional. Like I'm worried about that. Yeah. Like what?
Amber Alert that children are missing.
Children are missing.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like there's no Amber Alert on here. I don't know what the fuck it is. Yeah, it's nobody. It doesn't say spam risk, but it's not a phone number I recognize, so fuck it. I'm not answering that.
Louis says James Caan was also very good in Thief, which I mentioned earlier. I want to see Thief.
Oh, yeah, like we were talking about that, too.
He says it's one of the best heist movies of all time.
Yeah, that was another one. That was another one that we wanted to see. But, yeah, so I didn't realize, okay, so I don't think they said this in the movie, because when we were watching the movie, we were like, well, what year is this supposed to be? Because obviously it's supposed to be distant future from 1975. So I looked it up on Wikipedia. It's supposed to be 2018.
Yeah.
So remember back in 2018,
back when you had Rollerball,
when the whole world was owned by 6 corporations. Yeah. Well, what they do, like the corporations, there are 6 of them, and each of them is in charge of a different thing. Like one big corporation is like food company,
energy corporation,
and one is energy corporation. So they have like a monopoly on each thing. Yeah. And basically what they do, they've gotten rid of poverty, they've gotten rid of crime, which, that sounds like a good thing. But so they've done that, but the kind of the message of the movie is people have traded, safety and comfort for individuality, sort of thing. I feel like it's not as... It doesn't seem quite as dystopian as Logan's Run, maybe, but it's a similar kind of vibe where people just have really comfortable lives. Everybody seems to have a place to live. Everybody seems to have enough food to eat. Yeah. They give them happy pills.
And that is kind of the fucking idea behind this movie. Caan's realizing that people have given up freedom in exchange for comfort. That's that's the problem with the society. Yeah, and like and everybody's like baser urges, if you want to call them that. I don't think they ever say this outright, but the implication being that everyone's baser urges are all channeled into Rollerball, like these matches, which is essentially, it's a real game. They did come up with it's not a real game, but they did come up with a game for the movie, like that had rules and everything. And it's essentially a cross between roller derby, motocross, soccer, kind of, or football if you're not American, and maybe something else. Yeah. But so it's basically people going around in roller skates and people on motorcycles, and this ball comes shooting out of this pipe, and they have to pick it up and put it in the other team's goal. Yeah. And there's not really any. I guess at the start there's kind of rules, like you can get penalties and stuff, but as the movie goes on, they take some of the rules away, particularly because they want James Caan's character, whose name is Jonathan E. He's getting sort of like famous, and he's getting like bigger than the game. So this is kind of what starts him on his whole journey throughout the movie, is that he can't figure out, because he doesn't want to retire because he really likes playing the game and he really likes being famous. But they're trying to pressure him to retire. They're going to give him this, that, and the other thing, and they're kind of threatening him, hey, if you don't, like, something bad might happen, and that kind of stuff. And he can't figure out why they want him to do it, but it's basically because they don't, like, the whole game was kind of set up to... It's kind of a thing where nobody is supposed to, like, excel at it. It's just a game where everyone is just, like, supposed to beat the crap out of each other. Everyone's just going to come watch it and cheer for their team or their, company or whatever. And no one's supposed to be, like, individualistic, as in famous, like, one person. So he's gotten too famous, so they want to get rid of him. It's meant to kind of demoralize the public.
Right.
And kind of beat you down and abase you,
Yeah.
And it's because it's made up by the higher executives, and the higher executives look down their noses at the game secretly. They think it's for dummies. You know, like fuck, you know, that's a terrible game. It's just for the rabble. You know, that's
it's a bread and circuses type of situation is what they're talking
Louis
about.
says who that person trying to call so desperately that was Sancho. That was Sancho, man. You know who Sancho is, right?
What are you talking about?
Okay, no, that's your boyfriend. What are you saying?
That's my boyfriend?
Yeah, Sancho. Yeah.
I have a boyfriend named Sancho?
Yeah, it's you wouldn't understand. It's a Mexican thing.
Okay.
Yeah, Sancho is like Jody.
Who's Jody?
Jody is
the pig from Amityville Horror.
No, Jody is always your girlfriend's boyfriend. You didn't know about him. That's Jody. All right, it's the same thing. You know,
Why Jody?
I don't know, man. I started in the army. They called him Jody, and then
first thing I think of with Jody is the imaginary pig. Sorry, it's the imaginary pig
in
from
Mexico. You know,
Horror.
the dude that's got your girlfriend, you don't even know about it. That's Sancho. Sancho.
Well, you learn something new every day, don't
Sancho,
you?
yeah. Sancho got her.
Call me Sancho.
Yeah. Now, Ford Drove Down said, Rollerball is a great movie, but as Tom said the same thing about Logan's Run, Star Wars suddenly made it seem rather dated. Feels more like a 60s movie in some ways. Yeah, exactly.
It does.
Yeah.
And the thing about it, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I really dug it because I wasn't expecting... I mean, I was just mostly expecting, like I said, like a Death Race 2000. And it does have, you know, 2 or 3 set pieces of, you know, like a rollerball game that are, like, pretty violent and people getting knocked over and beat up and shit. But most of it is character shit. You know what I mean? And I wasn't really expecting that. Yeah. So, like you said, it really does have a Logan's Run kind of dystopian vibe to it. And it's not as over the top as that because it does seem like James Caan is just kind of like going through this investigation of why they want him to quit because he thinks something is going on. So it has kind of more, I don't know, it has more of like kind of a weird, like unsettling kind of vibe. I really like the one scene where they're all at that party. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and they're all watching the shit on TV, and everybody's like super obsessed with it, and everybody's like looking at him weird, and everybody's like glancing. And it's like, I don't know. It was like it had like a really unsettling atmosphere to it. Also, so much paneling. Holy shit.
Visually, I like the movie. It takes me back to my youth. I mean, out in Southern California, every cool, up-to-date building in the 70s looked like that. And it's just kind of, which is funny. Those buildings are all torn down by now, probably. But that's what they look like. And so to me, it didn't look futuristic. It looked like going back in time.
The thing that interested me, when I was watching the movie, I thought to myself, you know, yeah, this is a dystopian. Like, it seemed like the dudes, especially if they were athletes, like the rollerball players, that they were really kind of lived in luxury type of thing.
Yeah.
Was it me, or was every single woman essentially a hooker?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I'm like, so not so great for the ladies. You're all hookers. Well, I didn't see any like women that had.
Well, it was kind of like pro ball athletes of today. There's like groupies, right? And the groupies are kind of associated with certain teams. They follow them around. That's a real.
Well, no, but I mean.
But in this one, because it was corporate control, they issued them to the dudes.
That's what I'm saying.
And they were also spies.
And basically, they took James Caan had a wife named Ella.
Yeah.
And they took her.
Yeah.
Because one of the executives wanted her.
She got assigned to an executive.
So yeah, so I'm sitting there thinking, well, did none of the executives were women, were they? I think they were all men.
No, yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that every woman in this you had to do what you were told. Like, you just got issued, like, here's your boyfriend. Go fuck that old man.
Well, corporations are run like armies. A modern army of today is a copy of a corporation. That happened in World War II. It's literal. Generals got impressed with mass production because that was winning the war, and they said, well, how are we going to run this army? And they ran an army like a corporation. Well, a corporation also kind of runs like an army. So you have a position, you have assignments, you're constantly being told what your next job is. It's you know what I mean? They keep you busy. And in this story, the women were issued. They were kind of like a matchmate. That was your assignment.
Yeah, they didn't have any like choice about where they went.
Yeah, I don't think anybody had a choice about anything. It was totalitarian.
And
it was kind of like in Soylent Green. If you rented an apartment, it came with a woman.
It came with a woman, yeah.
But she considered that to be a fucking kind of like a good job, because if she didn't, they called her furniture. She just came with the apartment. If she wasn't living there, she'd have been out in the outside in the ghetto, and they were all killing each other and starving to death, outside those.
Yeah, it was kind of the same thing here. I kind of feel like, I don't know, because they didn't really go into, other than the executives who were kind of like stars. The 1% and the athletes who were kind of given all of those like really nice houses. They were issued women and if you got sick of one, or if they would, or if somebody else wanted that one, they would switch them around. So they would just like issue you a girlfriend, and she would live there and like do all your housework and shit like that.
Yeah, but you didn't choose your girlfriend.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
She just showed up.
And
it was the upper executive center there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They were kind of spies too.
Yeah, I got that feeling as well. That they were like watching you.
Their real job was to report back to the fucking upper executives what you were doing.
Yeah.
So she wasn't your girlfriend. She was more kind of just like a spy. She was Siri. Like the things you put in there. She was like that. You know what I mean? You pretended that it was yours, but it actually belonged to Google. It was like that.
Now, did the woman that played his wife, she was in one of the James Bond movies, wasn't she?
I think she was.
I think wasn't she Man with the Golden Gun or something like that. I can't remember what her name is, but I know she was. I know I'd seen her before. Also, the guy in this who plays kind of the second highest dude like on the team, whose name is Moon Pie, which I couldn't get over. Like all one word, Moon Pie.
Right. Yeah. Before we get off that subject though of the women. You have to understand that this is during the time of the Cold War. They're making parallels between a corporate-controlled society and communism, all right? Because when the state takes over the means of production, that's communism. Well, it's kind of the same thing when the means of production take over the state. That's corporatism. Communism is actually just like a form of corporatism, is what they're saying. And that even goes to those women. In the Soviet Union, they talked about how they were going to nationalize women. They didn't ever get around to doing it. It was like even that was too inhumane for the fucking USSR. But they had discussed it in I think it might have been in the Stalin era. Should women become nationalized? Which means, should they be issued? That's some weird shit when you think about it.
Some incels and MGTOWs say that.
Yeah.
That it's like that's how you keep us from.
Because they were saying, well, it's kind of unfair that guys have to fucking compete for a mate. Shouldn't they be issued a mate? And then they were thinking, well, we have to have children for. We have to have children for.
They don't care how we feel about it.
No, well, nobody cared about anything. They would just be given to you, and then they would tell you how many children you had to have for the welfare of the state, and for the welfare of the people, because you need replacement population. So, in a totalitarian society, your personal desires and happiness, oh fuck no, this is all about the masses and the people and the state and everything, and it's your duty to do all this stuff like a military duty. You have to be with this dude. You have to have his children, not for him and not for you, but for the people. They're gonna say it like that, or the state, one of the two. And then they say the people is the state. They play all these damn games, word games, just getting you to obey. So that's what they were talking about there with the women. I just wanted to mention that. That was the meaning of that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was just trying to remember, when I was watching it, because I said, it seemed like all the women had been. Yeah, that was all I wanted.
They were just kind of like property of the corporation, but everybody was property of the corporation. Everybody did what they were told.
But yeah, so the guy that plays Moon Pie, who is one of those dudes that is like one of the 70s, 70s looking dude, with the big fucking stash and everything.
Yeah.
I had seen him
like a Hulk Hogan, actually.
I had seen him before, and I was just kind of for a second. He looks kind of like the dude that was in Dario Argento's Inferno.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, that's not him. But I was like, what the fuck? I just saw him in something the other day. His John Beck. He was the dad in fucking Audrey Rose. That's where I saw him before. And he was also on Dallas, and he was in like a fuck ton of TV. Like I looked up his Wikipedia page, so it was like fucking tons of shit that he was in. But it was just like bugging me the whole time because I'm like, where the fuck have I seen that motherfucker before? Pretty much everybody in this. I don't know. I kind of feel like most of the main character. Well, John Houseman is in it too. He kind of plays like this main, Mr. Bartholomew, I think his name is, and he's kind of like the main big old guy executive at the Energy Corporation, which is based in Houston, or where Houston used to be, and that's the team that Jonathan E. is on, and so there's a lot of interactions with them. So he's great. He's always great. Interesting fact about this movie. This is the first major Hollywood movie that actually credited its stunt people.
Good.
Can you believe that they hadn't done that prior to 1975? I'm like, oh, so these people turn up on the set and, like, risk their lives, like, to make your stars look good, and you can't even, like, put them in the fucking credits? Yeah. God damn. It took, like, till 1975. And they did it because... all the people that showed up for, to do stunt work were obviously like real motocross guys, real roller derby guys, real athletes, because they actually had to play this game. Yeah. Because, they didn't have CGI or nothing like that.
I remember when I was a kid, this movie was around. It had a reputation when I was a little kid as on the schoolyard. People would talk about how brutal this movie was. And that their parents wouldn't let them watch it and all that kind of stuff. And it was kind of the same situation later on as Mad Max 1. It was a movie you heard about. You heard that it was bad. Your parents wouldn't let you watch it. It was too brutal and violent. It was too... So this was... When I watch it, you could see how this was kind of like a Mad Max movie in some ways when it came to like live action violence and involving like... well, in this case, motorcycles and roller skates. Now, it's not as filmed as good. It's not as epic as Mad Max 1. It's not as visceral. It's a little more cerebral. It's kind of like a movie of the 60s more than anything else. But I could understand how this movie made an impression in the day. In the day, I could see it. But, I
mean, by today's standards, it's not that violent or brutal.
No.
I think the brutality mostly comes from knowing that those people were doing those stunts for real. And, and some of it did look like it fucking hurt, you know what I mean? Because they're punching each other in the face and pulling people off motorcycles on roller skates and shit like that.
But it wasn't that much different than regular roller derby.
Yeah, well, see, that's what I was thinking, because I had a friend that did roller derby years ago, and it's roller derby just on its own is pretty rough. Yeah, you know what I mean? And you see some pretty fucked up shit. I mean, adding motorcycles and the flying ball and shit like that, which is kind of like High-Lie now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, kind of like High-Lie and fucking, but it was a steel ball and a special mitt that you caught, kind of like a catcher's mitt. And I remember as a kid the whole motorcycle angle. We were like, oh man, motorcycles. But not knowing much about motorcycles back in those days, it was pretty impressive. When I see the motorcycles today, they're Honda Cub 125s with some sheet metal on them to hide what they are. They're motor scooters, basically. They're not real
Well, yeah, they didn't want... Those are actual real stunt people. They didn't want them getting killed.
You're right. They're motor scooters. And which tells me that the speeds were not high. I mean, the roller skaters are next to the damn bike.
The motorcycles, like I read, in some of the sequences, they were doing, they were going about 40 miles an hour.
About 40, yeah. So you're not talking...
Which you'd still get fucked up if you had an accident.
Yeah, but you're not talking 70, 80,
right,
90, that would be real
I like
fast.
that they did a lot of the stunts in real time, because you know how sometimes in sort of cheaper movies where they would do, car stunts or motorcycle stunts and then they would speed the film up, but it's really, really obvious that they filmed the speed, sped the film up to make it look like the cars or motorcycles were going faster. Yeah. So I kind of like that they didn't do this. Yeah. Didn't do that here, because this actually, they play it like a real game. They play it in real time. And I heard that the stunt people liked the game so much that they would just play it when it wasn't even being filmed. Yeah. You know what I mean? So they would just get on the skates and fucking run all around the shit.
It was pretty good. My only criticism of it is that they didn't have the cameras technology of today back then, of course. So you couldn't get a lot of shots that really you probably should have gotten during some of these fights. The real low angle shots happening at pretty high speeds. The speeds should have seemed a little faster, I think. Mad Max 1 was able to accomplish that just with fucking no budget by getting a dude on the back of a damn motorcycle, that huge camera holding it with his hands. And it was pretty impressive what Mad Max 1 did with no money. I would like to have seen shots more like that, but they were just working with what they had,
I mean, this movie, I'm not really sure actually how much this cost to make. It was a major studio, but I don't know how much it cost to make. They actually shot it, interestingly. The director was Canadian. Even though most of it's supposed to be set in Houston, they actually shot most of the exteriors and all the game parts in Munich.
Okay.
So a lot of those buildings that you see, they're supposed to be like these futuristic buildings and stuff. That was all in Munich, and a lot of the interiors was shot in London. So I don't even think they shot any of it in the United States.
You said Maz Adams was in 2 Bond movies.
Yeah, Maud Adams, that's her.
The Man with the Gun.
Yeah, man. Yeah, oh, I got it right.
Octopus.
Damn, I impress myself sometimes.
Hernandez made me a honorary Mexican. Okay, by the way, he did that a while back.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, so if you ever go there, they just let you right over the border. You're like, relax. I'm an honorary Mexican.
Yeah, I got fucking documentation
from an actual Mexican.
From an actual Mexican. He's got Mexican authenticity card himself.
You have to show him the card.
The fucking dudes at the border like, what? Where does he live? Oh, he lives in California. He's like, wait a minute, no. Wait a minute, hold on.
That's not
hold on, yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. All right, so one scene that I wanted to discuss a little bit with this, just because it's so weird. You know the one scene where when James Caan is doing this investigation as to, he thinks there's some kind of big conspiratorial thing. He's like, look, why do they want me to retire so bad? I think something weird's going on. So he's kind of going along these little paths trying to figure out, like trying to get his trainer to get information and all this other kind of shit. Now at one point, he goes to some place that's supposed to be a library. And the woman is basically like, well, it's not really a library per se. It's just kind of like a repository of information. But all of the books in the world have been pretty much taken away from everywhere and all stored in Geneva, or so she says. So that's where they all go, because all the books are being digitized, essentially. I don't think they use that word, but that's what they were saying. They're all being digitized, and they're all in Geneva, so that's where all the books are. So he ends up going to Geneva, and he finds out that there are no books there either. They've all already been integrated into what is essentially, I don't know if I'd necessarily call it an internet, but it's kind of like an AI supercomputer, but it's like a tank of water.
Yeah, it's fluid.
But it can talk.
And it's alive, too.
Yeah.
But it evidently doesn't work that well. And
yeah, and it's like, we lost the whole entire 13th century. Oopsie. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it seems like so that was like a really weird scene, and they didn't go back to that.
No, and it was not resolved what it was they were talking about with that. I don't know what that meant. Maybe it was just supposed to entertain us. But he went to go ask the thing a question, and it just refused to answer the question.
I mean, I guess the point of it was that, like, all the world's knowledge that had been in books and stuff is now essentially lost because they put it all into this supercomputer fluid thing, and it doesn't work, and it doesn't know anything now. Yeah. So they're like, oh well. So I guess like all the world's knowledge has essentially like been flushed down the toilet. Maybe that's what they were getting at.
They didn't seem to care.
I would have liked for them to go back to that like one time, because that was just like so weird, and they didn't refer to it again.
The computer was acting like it was afraid to answer, and the guy was beating on it. Yeah, was some weird shit.
Yeah, that's right. He was like beating on him.
Yeah.
Just like a normal person does when your shit doesn't work. That's what I do with my computer when it doesn't work too.
He was threatening it. Yeah. It was alive.
Yeah.
But it was some kind of living fluid. It wasn't quite explained. Not by technology that we know of. And they didn't seem to understand it either, though.
Yeah, they didn't really. It's kind of like they were just throwing all the information in there and hoping for the best, and it was just all getting jumbled up and lost, and they didn't really seem all that concerned about it.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was gone more into in the short story. Now I'd be kind of interested to read the short story. I haven't read the story, but it's the same guy that wrote the screenplay.
Right.
So I'm assuming and I've heard that the short story is actually pretty close to how the movie turned out. So maybe it's like. Maybe it's described more in the story, maybe. I'm not really sure.
Probably just a message that corporate-controlled societies don't care about the past at all. They only care about the future profits.
That's kind of what I got from it.
That's the meaning I took away from it.
That's kind of what I got from it,
And that it might be in their advantage to erase might have been doing that on purpose. They're telling everybody that they're saving things, but they're actually destroying history.
Yeah.
That way they can spin any narrative they want.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I got from it. But yeah, I would have kind of been interested to see like that gone into a little bit more. Dominic says, I have Rollerball. It's still one of my favorites, mostly for the action sequences, great stunt work, and sound. Yeah, I agree with that. The computer guy was Ralph Richardson, I think. I think it was. And it was just, like I said, it was just one scene, and it wasn't really... It was a weird-ass scene. But yeah, this is a very... I didn't realize going into it because, like you said, I thought it was going to be more like a Death Race 2000, almost like a cheesy sports action type of thing, and it has sequences like that, but most of it's not like that. Most of it's like pretty cerebral.
Yeah, it's kind of a high-minded type. It's more along the lines of fucking Soylent Green.
Yeah,
but in some ways better than Soylent Green.
I liked this a lot better. I like Soylent Green too, but it wasn't as good as I remembered it being. Yeah. Like when I rewatched it recently, I like this one a lot better.
You can't rewatch Soylent Green if you know what Soylent Green is.
Yeah, because it's not because the whole time like it comes on, you're like, it's people.
Yeah, it's people.
It's people.
Yeah, it's obvious, and it's obvious what they're doing.
And it takes them like way too long to figure it out.
To know that they're fucking taking the bodies of the dead or killing people and also turning them into Soylent Green.
That's the thing. I think it's one of those movies that if you already know the twist, then
it's not quite
as enjoyable.
Yeah.
I was going to say another movie that's kind of the flip side of that is Planet of the Apes, but it's like even though you know what the ending is, everybody knows you blew it up. Everybody knows that, but that's still like a fun as hell movie, even if you know what the twist is. Soylent Green, not so much. Like you said, I think the last time I watched it, I was just kind of like, how long is it going to take them to figure out that like they're eating people? I mean, come on, get on the clue bus. But it seemed to take way too long.
This is all boomer stuff, man. The UN and all these fucking trilateral commissions and all these fucking international fucking councils with the UN were writing up all these papers and people were reading them and they were coming up with these movies like Zardos, and it was all apocalyptic shit. Zardos, Rollerball would fit in there. Soylent Green would fit in there. Omega Man would fit in there.
Yeah, probably. This one I feel like it's not post-apocalyptic in the sense of there wasn't like a nuclear war or anything.
No, just evolved.
But it seemed like they talked about the corporate wars and they kept talking about like how nasty they were. Yeah. So there might have been something like that, but there's really no evidence of that now. Like now everybody seems to like live in really luxurious.
Well, the people they show.
I
think regular people were just basically living in cubicles watching TV. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, probably.
Which would have made it a situation kind of like what AJ called Prison Planet or Metaverse or the fucking thing from, what do you call the damn thing from The Matrix where you're just in a damn pod and you're in a VR, virtual reality.
Yeah.
It's a low-tech version of the damn pods. You stay in a fucking room and watch TV. That's what it seemed like they were talking about. People just watching it.
Yeah, they were all like just watching the rollerball games. It was like the World Cup, but everybody watched it, and everybody was really, really invested in it.
And I'm imagining that the rest of the television programs were just mindless bullshit.
Although they didn't show any, did they?
They didn't show it, no.
I think that's all they showed was like the rollerball games. Right. But so that was, I guess, the main entertainment. So everyone was into it.
So when they're talking about welfare, you just sitting in your house watching TV, getting free shit, and then just pumping bullshit to you. That's the same as The Matrix. You're just in a pod, and they're pumping a fake reality to you that you think is real through virtual reality. It's all the same idea. That's what metaverse they're talking about. Great Reset. Same thing. It's all coming out of the same group of literature. And it's all written sci-fi anyway. The people saying this are not fucking... The people that come up with these ideas are fucking... It's fantasy. Basically.
I should note that they did a couple video games based on this. A few of them, I don't think they were official, but they looked like they were kind of trying to rip it off. But which I've heard are kind of fun. Also, they did a remake of this in the 2000s. I can't remember. It's 2008, I want to say. Which I've heard was terrible because basically they didn't really... I think they did do the whole dystopian thing, but I think they tried to make it more like an extreme like action movie, which is kind of like not the point of the movie.
No.
So it seemed like the remake kind of missed the whole entire point of what the original movie was saying. Because the original movie, the sport was supposed to be like brutal and fucked up and everything like that because it was supposed to be like bad. It was supposed to be like... Yeah. It wasn't supposed to be like celebrated, really. I mean, that's kind of the point that the movie was making. So I feel like the remake, I haven't seen it, but from other reviews that I've seen of it and like reading about it, it seems like it kind of missed the point. And it really didn't do very well. I feel like, it came out and everyone was like, meh.
This one?
No, the remake.
Oh, the remake. Yeah, the remake was... people forgot about it.
Yeah, it was just, it's like a completely... So, yeah, so definitely if you're going to see anything Rollerball, you should see the original one, because I've heard the remake is just, like, not even...
This wasn't bad. It was good. It's just that, like we said, me and Fourth Drawer Down fucking pointed out, Star Wars came out a couple years later.
And kicked everyone's ass.
Yeah, it kicked everybody's ass. All these movies were quickly forgotten. They just immediately looked outdated and fake.
Yeah, I mean, that just kind of like stomped on everyone's testicles, that movie.
Yeah.
In a good way, but...
Right.
You can't make movies... You can't make movies like Logan's Run anymore, like after Star Wars came out. You just can't. Louis says 2002 the remake came out, and he said it was god-awful.
Yeah.
That's right. I have not heard a single person... Well, most people just forgot it existed, but of people that have mentioned it, I have not heard a single... Everyone just said it was just like a piece of shit.
From my memory, that was in general around the same time as fucking Battlefield Earth came out. And Jenny makes fun of me, but I would want a fucking copy of Battlefield Earth on Blu-ray.
I couldn't even sit through that whole movie.
Yeah, and I want to do a fucking serious review of fucking Battlefield Earth. I want to give it the respect it deserves.
Which is 0.
What are you talking about? No, they were actually okay. There are
other than like Forrest Whitaker being in it. I love him.
There was some good ideas in it. All right, that could have been really good.
There's good ideas in a lot of movies. Yeah. That doesn't mean they're good movies.
I could have fixed Battlefield Earth if they had me around. But the problem with Battlefield Earth is that it had to somehow conform to Scientology's crazy value system, which is somehow that's going to kind of fuck up the flow of the movie, and it's going to. But there's things about that movie that I fucking like. The star of that movie looks just like David Miscavige, and you know who's the leader of the church, and you know they chose that actor because that David Miscavige looks like that. That guy is supposed to be David Miscavige saving the earth from the Cyclos. The Cyclos.
Yeah, I can't wait till David Miscavige saves the earth from it.
And then you had
can't wait for that.
And then you had the fucking aliens. I liked the aliens. I just thought they were fucking funny, you know. Like they were only worried about their bonuses and they were real corporate.
Well, the thing about
the rat, little fella.
The thing about Battlefield Earth, I think Battlefield Earth had the same problem that a lot of sort of like Christian propaganda type movies have.
Yeah.
Is that when you're hemmed in by this particular message that you want to send, or this particular like religion is kind of, you can't really make a good piece of art because you're too worried about ticking off like all these particular boxes. And I think the same thing happened with Battlefield Earth. I mean, that movie, like I said, I'll sit through some bullshit now. Like I'll sit through some shitty ass movies. I just couldn't get into it. I don't know, like, I don't know what it wasn't even funny or stupid enough for me to be entertained. I was just kind of like, I just can't handle it.
I enjoyed it because I understood what I was seeing. I thought it was fascinating. Kind of like watching, it's kind of like watching that North Korean fucking monster movie, Pulgasari. It's like watching Pulgasari, which is
I liked Pulgasari though.
Yeah, it was like a North Korean monster movie. Yeah, but it's just a product that comes out of fucking Scientology, and it's trying to disguise itself as not being Scientology, and
as being a cool sci-fi movie.
Yeah, and fucking you got old.
Plus, it was giving me motion sickness. It seemed like every shot was like that or like that. I'm like, knock it off with the Dutch angles. God damn it.
It had a lot of kind of cheesy CGI. Didn't look too good at it. And then as soon as it came out and the public didn't like it, fucking Scientology disavowed it. Oh, that piece of shit? Oh, no, we had nothing to do with that. Which makes me even like it even more. That they try to disavow.
Which is weird because you would think, I mean, I would have thought that the first go-to would have been, you guys just don't understand it because we're too awesome for you.
Yeah. Or you guys sabotaged
guys sabotaged it. Or they would try to play the victim because that's usually what ends up happening.
No, we had nothing to do with that piece of shit. We don't know anything about that movie. I'm like, man, I'd buy that bitch.
Okay, I'm not buying it. I'm not giving those bitches any of my money.
They probably don't sell it.
Yeah, they do.
They do sell it?
You can get every movie nowadays.
Okay. All right. I didn't know what studio owns it or what the distribution is.
I don't know who owns it either, but
I guess Scientology probably doesn't own the distribution of it, so it's not.
Well, no, because they, you know. I mean, I thought it was a pretty big release, so I thought there was actually some production company behind it, right? Somebody got suckered into making that piece of crap.
It was bad, but it was kind of so bad that it was good in a certain way. And
I don't think it was, though.
And one of the reasons why it was so bad is because everybody knew it was Scientology that made it. You know, that's ironic. So that kind of tainted the audience.
Yeah, they were trying to like pull one over on people. Like people were dumb and they didn't know that that's where that was coming from.
But with me, that kind of attracted me to it. I wanted to see what these fucking freakazoids would do, man.
Well, see, I think that's why I didn't like it, because I was expecting it to be like way, way stupider and like way, you know what I mean? And it's like, it wasn't even like, it was stupid, but it wasn't stupid enough to be fun. You know what I mean? It was just stupid, and it's like I couldn't. A lot of it was kind of boring too. I thought it was kind of boring.
I didn't think it was boring.
To be honest,
I was kind of interested in what the hell was happening in it. Yeah.
I mean, maybe boring isn't the word. Maybe it was just kind of like I didn't care enough, like to follow it.
I think it's more what it was with you.
Like they didn't really get me to care about it.
Thought it was a great premise, man.
And I thought it's like if I thought that this was gonna go full on like batshit insane, then I might like sit here and watch it. But I just felt like it wasn't.
There were some parts of that movie that were totally implausible, but you just have to go okay, because if you don't accept it, then the movie can't continue. You know what I'm talking about? You're
the movie can't continue.
Okay, all right, yeah. Okay, you can teach a caveman to fly jet. Okay, sounds good.
Maybe it's a really smart caveman.
Well, there was the learning.
He'd be hitting it with his hand.
There was the learning machines, but look, we're going on. That's another movie. That's another movie.
When has that ever stopped you before?
Never stopped.
You should save that for that. But like I said, if I'm gonna sit through that, I'm gonna have to drink a lot. Yeah. For me to sit through
Louis says that was one of the few movies he walked out of the theater of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever walked out of the theater. I've wanted to a couple of times.
I almost wanted to fucking walk out of fucking Last Jedi.
I think the only time I wanted to walk out, a couple of times, I think, okay, the 2 times I can remember. One time I wanted, and this was a long time ago. End of Days.
One with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
Oh, it was terrible.
It was so bad.
Terrible.
And I didn't
Soul swears by that movie.
I didn't really want to go see it, but my husband at the time like was real into action movies, and he's like, look, this is an action movie and it's also like the devil. And I was like, okay, whatever. So like we go to see it, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is so fucking stupid. And it's like I really wanted to leave like halfway through, but I didn't. The other movie that I wanted to... What was the other one? Oh, fucking Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Yeah. Sancho called you.
Sancho called me?
Yeah.
Again?
I guess so.
Man, he's stalking me, that Sancho.
Yeah, yeah, what was the name? Fucking End of Days was unwatchable. So was Eraser. That was...
See, I didn't even bother watching that
was another...
I've heard that was also terrible.
Unwatchable.
I've heard that
and
was
I like
terrible.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies, except that he's got some out there that are just unwatchable.
Yeah. At least he got his shit together later and was in some good shit.
Yeah.
God damn, Sancho. He's awful persistent, isn't he?
He's waiting for that next batch of pictures.
I guess. I'll have to lift up the shirt, take a picture, and send it. I don't know who that is. It's not anybody. It's somebody from Volusia County, because that's not even this this exchange. Yeah, that's 386. That's
they're saying bring it
Daytona.
on. I guess they want to fucking hear. Yeah, they gave John Travolta a bona fide excuse to wear built-up shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fucking enjoyed Travolta's performance. I enjoyed his performance.
And I'm not shitting on John Travolta because he's good in some stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a ridiculous movie. It was ridiculous, but it wasn't ridiculous enough for me to like it.
Yeah. All right, so we're pretty much done with Rollerball.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, if you have Amazon Prime, they have Rollerball on right now for free.
For free.
Free to me. Yeah. So that's how we ended up watching it, because I said
watch one commercial in the beginning on the free ones for on Amazon.
For on Amazon, yeah. I mean, Tubi's different. Like Tubi is completely free.
Yeah.
But because Amazon Prime you got to pay for like every month. But But yeah, so Rollerball was on there. So that's how we ended up watching it. Because I remember, and I can't remember who it was, I'm sorry, but I remember at least one person, maybe two people, like brought up Rollerball when we were talking about some of the 70s movies. And like I said, I could have sworn that I saw it, but when we were watching it, I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't fucking see this.
Cab guy liked Eraser. He said it had good stunts, a good story. I didn't like Eraser.
I didn't see it.
There was something about Eraser. I think by that time I was so used to seeing Arnold in some kind of a sci-fi action type role that one did have a sci-fi element. I think his best really great movie, old school type movie, was the one with the damn clones. Was the name of that fucking thing?
I don't know. You bring it up a lot, but I can't remember either.
Sixth Day or Fifth Day. I liked that one. That was kind of like an old school Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
That one wasn't bad, actually.
I liked it, yeah.
But yeah,
that was his last final great Arnie flick.
I mean, I feel like End of Days, that even had Gabriel Byrne in it, I think. And I love Gabriel Byrne, but he couldn't even save it.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh well. What are you gonna do?
It had a good soundtrack though, and a good fucking score in the beginning. It sounded all impressive, kind of like a real, like almost kind of like something out of The Omen or something. Real satanic sound.
See, I kind of wish they had gone more in an Omen direction and less in like an action movie direction.
The final scene when he's fighting the devil and shit, that one was a little bit better, but. My disbelief is totally fucking shot at this point by the time that this
And I
happened.
feel like that came out like right around the same, and maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but I feel like that came out right around the same time as like another kind of satanic movie called Stigmata that had Patricia Arquette in it. Yeah. And that was like way, way better.
Probably.
Because I think that I saw that one in the theater too, and I remember liking that one much more. Yeah. Was that the one with the Gabriel Byrne? I kind of feel like Gabriel Byrne was in End of Days. Who the fuck was, who else was in Stigmata then? Shit. It was Patricia Arquette, I'm sure. But I can't remember who else was in it. Anyway, but yeah, so go watch Rollerball if you haven't seen it. James Caan is pretty cool in it, and it's a pretty cool fucking movie. It was like way better than I expected, actually.
Yeah.
Even though I thought I'd seen it before, but I guess I didn't. So tomorrow's Wednesday, right? Yeah. So tomorrow is episode night.
Yeah.
We're gonna be doing Zodiac Revisited.
Revisiting the Zodiac
That won the Patreon poll by a landslide.
Yeah, because some new stuff's come out about the Zodiac.
Yeah, we'll get to the bottom of that. We'll see how that is. I'll probably do like just an overview of the case as a whole, and then we'll get into like all the new shit and talk about some shit like that. So that should be fun. So yeah, come on by tomorrow at 5 p.m. Thanks everybody for dropping by today, and we'll see you guys tomorrow evening.